Greek philosopher Evenus said, "Habit, my friend, is practice long pursued, that at last becomes man himself." Welcome to the How to Stop Drinking Alcohol video course. It's amazing to me now, looking back at all my years as a drinker, that I never saw a problem in what I was doing to myself or to those around me. I started drinking alcohol back in the late 1970s, and I stopped at the beginning of 2013. Now, in all that time, over 30 years, right up until I finally quit, I never thought I'd stop drinking or that I would ever really want to stop drinking. Now, I'm sure it's something that you can empathize with. Drinking alcohol was just normal for me. I didn't call it alcohol. We don't say, "I'm off to the bar for some alcohol." For me, it was, "I'm off to the bar for a few pints." Now, having a few pints at the weekend was normal for me. Then it became having a few pints at the end of the working days. Then it became having a few pints at the end of any day. Then it became having a few pints or a glass of wine, having a bottle of wine, having some shots, maybe both, maybe all. Now, towards the end of my drinking life, when I did realize that I had a problem, I automatically thought that there was something wrong with me personally. I thought that it was just that I was just one of those people who couldn't handle alcohol. Now, that line of thinking doesn't come about by accident. Believing that I was an alcoholic, thinking that I probably had an addictive brain and that there was very little I could do about it, is an integral part of the culture that we live in, this alcoholic consuming culture. Now, we've all been programmed to think that way. We've been programmed to think that putting a poison into our bodies so that we can feel inebriated is just normal. We've been programmed to believe that it's a normal part of our everyday lives. That getting drunk is normal. That the hangover is normal. That drinking this toxin is manly, that it's fun, that it's expected. Now, as I'll show you throughout this course, that programming started right from the day that you were born. It started before you were born, but for you it started on that day. The truth is that every alcohol drinker has been captured by the same level of programming. We always think about the propaganda of alcohol use coming exclusively from the alcohol companies, that we're swayed by their sexy advertising. In fact, the alcohol companies have a very simple job in convincing us to start drinking this stuff and to continue to drink it despite the negative effects that we get in those first few sessions. The world spinning, the vomiting, the sickness, and all that kind of stuff that happens to you when you first start drinking. And, us saying to ourselves that, "Oh no, I'm never going to drink again." How many times have you said that to yourself? Of course, once you don't feel sick, once you can drink without feeling sick anymore, and, the hangover wears off, it's a completely different story. We all forget the pain. So the alcohol companies don't need to do very much to get us to drink and keep drinking until it becomes a habit that we find ourselves in the middle of right now. Now, they don't need to do much because by the time we get to taking our first sip of alcohol, we have already been well and truly hooked into the alcoholic culture. Your habitual addiction to this drug has been slowly brewing from the day that you were born. Now, we'll look at this in much more detail throughout this video course. Now that I've stopped drinking, I'm loving every minute of it. You'll find that as well. With all my doubts and anxieties about a life without alcohol, once the programming was laid bare and I saw alcohol drinking for what it was, a very destructive drug habit, quitting the stuff actually turned out to be very simple. Once you get over the need to drink, the desire to carry on putting the stuff into your body, contrary to your own sort of common sense, and you find the motivation to turn your back on alcohol forever, you'll also love every single minute of you being alcohol-free, of this new alcohol-free lifestyle, because you know where you've come from, you know where you started, you know what has led you to take your decision to quit in the first place. Now, hopefully with the help of this material, you'll find an understanding of what alcohol is really doing to yourself as a person and to your life, how the way you think about alcohol has developed and what you can do about it. Now, quitting alcohol is extremely liberating. You know, your whole life will change when you alter your alcohol perceptions and you see what destruction your alcohol use has been causing. Now, that's the essence of what this video course is all about. Opening your mind to the use of alcohol and how it's used in our society, and how you can stop drinking alcohol just completely and not think about it ever again, just live a different life. So what we're going to cover in this series of video tutorials, I'm going to take you through some of my story. I'll tell you about myself and my drinking, my family and their drinking, and what eventually occurred in my life that stopped me just dead in my tracks and finally opened me up to the realization of what I was doing to myself and causing to happen in my life. Then we'll take a look at alcohol in our culture. How come you readily accept your first drink and just keep on doing it regardless of any negative consequences? Then we'll look at the alcohol itself, how much blame you can put onto it. We'll examine the highly publicized and dubious claims made by the alcohol industry, backed by many laboratories and sort of pseudo-scientists. Then we'll take a look at moderation in your drinking and the frame of mind that that puts you into. We'll also take a look at the language of addiction, or the language of habit. We'll look at how you can be your own best friend, or you can be your worst enemy when it comes to how you use your own language on yourself and to others. We'll take a look at the terms alcoholic, recovery, sober, symptoms and cravings, side effects, and all those other medically grounded words, and how they have no place in your vocabulary. I'll talk a little bit about the demon drink and hitting rock bottom. Now, one of the biggest issues with anyone who's just about to embark on this new journey is fear. Now, mostly these fears are aggravated and intensified by the quit alcohol industry, who want you to believe that we all fit into this same bucket, that we're all susceptible to terrible withdrawal symptoms, unbearable cravings, and even run the very real risk of dying because we've stopped drinking. Now, I'll spend a lot of time on this course talking about overcoming these fears by understanding what it is that you're going to be going through. Now, in short, you're much more likely to die early if you continue to pursue the path of drinking alcohol than if you stop. Now, you'll see that for the vast majority of us, the hangovers are about as bad as the actual physical discomfort is ever going to get, and you're leaving that behind. You also see that for the vast majority of us, the psychological symptoms are what you really have to concentrate your energies on defeating. It's basically all in your control. In other words, you can do this because the majority of what will happen to you over the coming days, weeks and months is in your head. It's all about trying to deal with the thoughts and that kind of thing that comes up in your head. Now, we'll look at a couple of strategies for calming your fears. And once you've quit, once the last of the booze has been just eliminated from your body and from your life, you have to deal with your recovery period. And we'll talk about that. Now, most people talk about recovery like it's something to dread. It's not. It's the body, your body, responding to the new environment that it finds itself in. The environment where your liver is not fighting day and night to survive anymore, where your blood cleans itself, well, when your system cleans the blood up, and where your systems begin to function as they should do. Now, your body is going to heal itself, and it's very good at doing what it does. You know, once you get out of the way and once you stop trying to pollute it with the toxins. And finally, I'm going to talk about some of the mindsets that will help you to take you into the next phase of your life, into your own future. And we'll look at your responsibility, how you view discomfort, and some of the habit memories that you're going to get from time to time. So with that in mind, there's every reason to start your journey feeling very happy about your decision to quit. So here's some things to think about. How have you been programmed to accept alcohol into your life as a normal part of your life through your parents, your family, your friends, and in the wider world? Now think about how different your life is going to be once you stop. How do you feel about not having alcohol in your life anymore? Are you afraid of quitting? Are you looking forward to it? A bit of both. How do you think your life will change? And how do you think your relationships will change? Now, in the next video, we're going to take a look at your decision to quit, your addiction to alcohol, calling yourself an alcoholic, and some of the other important lessons that you'll learn throughout this course.